The man walking inside this ultra-secure Mexican prison is not an ordinary person. He is El Chapo, the most dangerous and most powerful drug smuggler in the entire world. His cell has special CCTV cameras that watch his every move, 24 hours a day. There is no window, no light, only a small shower area in one corner. But the shocking part, even with all this tight security, El Chapo suddenly disappears. He walks toward the shower area, and then vanishes. 30 minutes later, when guards get suspicious and enter his cell, El Chapo, the world's biggest drug lord, is gone. How did he escape? Where did he go? Let's go deep into the life and the unbelievable prison escape of El Chapo Guzman. Welcome back once again to Stiku TV Videos. This story begins in 1957 in a small town called La Tuna in Mexico. El Chapo's real name was Joaquin Guzman Loera. He was born into a poor farming family, but his father was not just a farmer. He was a small-time drug dealer. From his father, young Joaquin learned everything about the drug business. When he was just a teenager, his father threw him out of the house. He had no job, no education, and no choice. To survive, El Chapo started growing and selling drugs on his own. At the age of just 15, he began cultivating marijuana in hidden mountain fields, far from the eyes of police. Slowly, his name started spreading in the local underworld. He was clever, fearless, and extremely disciplined. By the late 1970s, he joined a powerful drug gang led by El Güero Palma. El Chapo's job was to supervise drug deliveries. He was so strict that if any delivery was late or any mistake was made, he would personally kill the dealer. In the 1980s, El Chapo joined another, even bigger cartel, the Guadalajara Cartel, led by the legendary drug lord Pedro Avilés. El Chapo was in charge of logistics, watching the shipment routes between Colombia and Mexico. But in 1989, when Avilés was captured by authorities, the cartel broke apart. That was El Chapo's moment. He took control, formed his own cartel, the Sinaloa Cartel. At that time, drugs were entering the U.S. through two main routes, one through the Caribbean and the other through the Mexican border. Most American agencies were focused on the Caribbean route, so El Chapo used this opportunity. He began smuggling drugs through secret Mexican routes into the U.S., earning billions of dollars. He dealt in meth, heroin, cocaine, ecstasy, and marijuana. But cocaine and marijuana were his biggest profit makers. To smuggle drugs, El Chapo used extremely clever tricks. He hid cocaine in fire extinguishers, chili cans, and even car rims, in ways that drug-sniffing dogs couldn't detect. But there was one problem. Heavy drugs couldn't be transported this way. So, El Chapo came up with an idea that became his trademark: tunnels. He invested millions of dollars, hiring expert engineers to build underground tunnels with electric lights, air ventilation, and rail systems. These tunnels connected Mexico directly to the United States. In 1990, the FBI discovered one of El Chapo's first tunnels, 300 feet long, with electricity and full ventilation. It opened inside a house that worked as his safe house, and he could escape through it any time. His methods were genius. Even when authorities tried everything, El Chapo stayed one step ahead. By 2010, U.S. and Mexican agents found several more tunnels, each one more advanced than the last, complete with lights and rail cars to move drugs. That's when they started calling him the King of Tunnels. El Chapo carefully chose his tunnel locations. Most were near Otay Mesa on the U.S.-Mexico border. He picked this area for three reasons. First, it was close to two major transport hubs, Tijuana and San Diego, making drug movement easier. Second, it was an industrial area, full of noisy factories, so the sound of digging could easily hide in the noise. And third, the soil was perfect. Soft enough to dig, but strong enough not to collapse. In short, Otay Mesa was the perfect place for tunnels, but even the smartest criminals get caught eventually. On June 19, 1993, Mexican authorities finally captured El Chapo and sentenced him to 20 years in prison. But this prison was no punishment for him. It was just a new office. He bribed the guards and continued his drug operations from inside his cell. Then, in 2001, when Mexico made prisoner transfers to the U.S. easier, El Chapo realized his time was running out. He knew if he was sent to the U.S., he would never escape again. So he made his first escape plan. He bribed prison guards with $200,000, sat inside a laundry basket, and walked right out of the prison. For the next 13 years, El Chapo ran his empire again, stronger than ever. He built new tunnels, smuggled more drugs, and ruled Mexico's underworld like a ghost. But in 2014, after years of tracking, authorities finally found his location. They raided his home, and once again, he escaped through a secret tunnel under his bathtub. However, this time, luck wasn't on his side. He was caught again. He was then moved to Mexico's most secure prison, Altiplano Maximum Security Prison. The guards watched him day and night, but El Chapo wasn't finished. On the night of July 11, 2015, he was seen walking near the shower area, the only place without a camera. Minutes later, gone. When guards entered the cell, they were shocked. Under the shower floor, a tunnel, perfectly built, leading deep underground. It stretched 1 kilometer long, 33 feet below the ground, and 5 feet 7 inches wide, big enough for a man to walk easily. It ended at a construction site outside the prison. Once again, El Chapo had escaped, right under the noses of the world's most secure prison. But his freedom didn't last long. On January 8, 2016, Mexican Marines stormed one of his safe houses in Los Mochis. After a heavy gunfight, El Chapo was caught again. This time, the U.S. didn't want to take any risk. In 2017, El Chapo was extradited to America, and today he is serving a life sentence in ADX Supermax Prison, Colorado, the most secure prison in the world. Yet even now, the U.S. government fears that one day, somehow, El Chapo might escape again. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for your likes and amazing comments. See you in the next powerful story, only on Stiku TV.